You better lock it up.
No, you lock it up.
You lock it up. Lock it up.
Hit the guys up on the Riverwind Casino call-in line at 405-329-9000 or text the show on the Knippelmeyer Chevrolet text line at 405-651-3439.
Do it! Just do it!
Now, with Locked In, here's Parker Thune and Grayson Singleton.
I don't know, Grayson. What do you think we should lead the show with today?
I don't know, man. Anything particular happen between 11 and midnight last night?
It wasn't that late.
That may have been when I saw it.
Okay. Yeah, were you up gaming or something?
My girlfriend came over.
Oh, okay,
So
gotcha.
I wasn't on my phone.
Preoccupied.
I was preoccupied. I was not on the phone until I responded to you, which probably was about 11:30.
I remember the exact time that Jaden O'Neal decommitted from the University of Oklahoma because I got the notification in real time. I was about to fall asleep. I'm glad I didn't. 10:24 p.m. Central Time on June 19th, 2025, 360 days after his verbal to Oklahoma, Jaden O'Neal backed off his pledge and is back on the open market. The expectation for O'Neal is that he's going to turn around and commit to Florida State. And the path is now completely clear, Grayson, for Oklahoma to bring home Ben Arbuckle's guy, Bowe Bentley. How we feeling about this? I don't just want your answer, although I do want to get to that in just a second. I would also like to hear what the Knippelmeyer Chevrolet text line thinks. Folks, it seems pretty evident what's about to happen. Jaden O'Neal is out. Bowe Bentley is in. And we'll discuss some of the details surrounding where things stand between Oklahoma and Bentley in just a moment. But if you want to chime in, 405-651-3439 is the Knippelmeyer Chevrolet text line. Grayson, what's your overall vibe on how this all has unfolded?
Predictable. This was the most predictable outcome that was going to happen. When he told you, and I remember when you published this article on March 22nd, when he told you that he wished the communication between Oklahoma and his circle had been a little bit better, that told me all I need to know, that this was an irreconcilable situation and that Jaden O'Neal, no matter how long it drew out, which turned out to be 3 more months, was not going to be in Oklahoma's class. And it's probably for the better for Jaden O'Neal. Bowe Bentley would have had the inside track to playing time faster. Bowe Bentley is the preferred guy, which means he's going to get a head start in that race. And Jaden O'Neal would just be there as the second guy. It's a better business decision. It's a better career decision for Jaden O'Neal. And by the way, I think it's a better decision for Oklahoma that they don't bring in both, because that's too much money to be tied up in 2 true freshman quarterbacks. So all in all, and with the assumption that Bowe Bentley is probably going to be in tow now and a part of the 2026 class, this is a situation that ended up well for everybody. One of the few times you can say that in the world nowadays, but I think everybody ended up where everybody should end up.
A win-win-win, as it were.
Yes.
Now, I want to dispel one misconception in particular, and I think there are a lot of misconceptions surrounding this entire circumstance. But I first off want to dispel the notion that Oklahoma didn't care whether Jaden O'Neal wound up in the class or not. They tried to talk him out of decommitting. They had members of the roster try and talk him out of decommitting. He felt it was best, and as we have discussed ad nauseum, that is perfectly understandable from his end. But Oklahoma let him know from the jump they had every intention of honoring his commitment. They weren't moving on from him. They did in-home visits with him. They did in-person scouting evaluations of him throughout the spring. You don't do any of that for a guy that you're completely indifferent toward. So it is a misconception that Oklahoma just didn't care for Jaden O'Neal. However, the other truth, and this is more of an implied truth because obviously no one was just going to outright say it, Grayson, but it was evident in how everything unfolded. The truth of the matter was that Bowe Bentley always seemed like more of a priority than Jaden O'Neal. That's perfectly fair to say. 405-651-3439 is the text line, and we already have many, many folks chiming in. John in Blanchard on the text line says, Parker, I'm visiting a patient that lives on campus. I definitely just saw Bentley with Dickerson. It had to be them. Well, okay. Let's just dive into this right now. First off, Dallas Dickerson is not on campus this weekend. Dallas Dickerson OV'd 2 weeks ago, so he's not back in Norman. I do think Oklahoma is going to get his commitment next Tuesday, and I tossed in a future cast to that effect last night. I like where Oklahoma stands in the recruitment of Dallas Dickerson, the 4-star wideout from Bogart, Georgia. But let's just say, Grayson, it wouldn't shock me if old Bowe Bentley made another cameo in Norman this weekend. I'm going to throw this out there, and I don't know this for a fact, but just based on the way that everything has kind of unraveled and based on the conversations I've had this morning, the general trend here and the timeline that we've always suspected would hold true for Bentley, I'm going to issue a prediction right now. I think Bowe Bentley, by the next time you and I go on air, Monday, will be committed to the University of Oklahoma. Jaden O'Neal out, Bowe Bentley in, just like that. And Grayson, as we discussed for months, the one thing that couldn't happen, absolutely could not happen, was that you go 0 for 2. But going 1 for 2, whether it was O'Neal or Bentley, always seemed like the most likely outcome, and 2 for 2 was always a pipe dream. That was never happening. It's what they tried for, but it was unrealistic, and I think everyone kind of understood that. So how do we feel? Bowe Bentley in, Jaden O'Neal out. As of today, June 20th. O'Neal decommitted late last night for those just joining us, and I may dig into this here in a few minutes, but I laid out the timeline of how everything went down.
Which, by the way, was fantastic by you.
Thank you. Because I figured, okay, people need to understand how all of this has gone down in as much detail as possible. Because if you don't know any better, and there are a lot of people that operate like this, right, Grayson? A lot of people that don't pay attention to recruiting until they have to, i.e. the kid commits to the University of Oklahoma, or it's just all over your social media feed enough that you can no longer ignore it. So there are a lot of people that I don't think have enough backdrop for what has gone on as Oklahoma has recruited the quarterback position in the 26 cycle. So I want to dig into that timeline in just a minute, but I want to get to some of these texts first because we have some good ones. Denver from Indiana says, Grayson, you asked how do OU fans feel. Quite a few are pissed, as I am. O'Neal was not going to decommit. He even peer recruited. So last time I'll say it, it's horse bleep how he was treated. Moving on, I hope Bentley signs and is great.
You want to take this one or me?
Will I try to talk you out of that perspective, Denver from Indiana? No, I will not. That's a very understandable perspective on the matter. But the other thing that I will again reiterate, feel like I've said this a lot ever since OU tossed an offer Bentley's way. Oklahoma didn't shove O'Neal into a corner. They didn't tell him to kick rocks. They didn't tell him to walk. They said, hey, we're going to go for a second quarterback.
I do think that's a little bit disingenuous, to put it that way. And the reason I think that, Parker, is because it's not like they were just going for a second quarterback. That's not what was going on here. That second quarterback was eventually going to be QB1 in the class. It wasn't like they were going for Jaden O'Neal that, hey, we're going to bring in some insurance policy that's going to be behind you. He's going to be a 3-star, maybe a 2 or whatever. Oh, no. This was a dude that a lot of people now are seeing as better than Jaden O'Neal. So the whole thing of, yeah, we're just going to go after it for a second quarterback, I think we're past that now.
It was a very calculated gamble on Ben Arbuckle's part to launch the pursuit of Bentley in the first place, because the one thing you said that cannot be disputed, Denver, is that O'Neal was not going to decommit. If Oklahoma never goes after Bowe Bentley, Jaden O'Neal's not budging. Jaden O'Neal and his folks moved halfway across the country from California so that he could spend his senior year in Mustang, Oklahoma, and be right down the road from campus. He had every intention of being an Oklahoma Sooner until OU got involved with Bowe Bentley. If that never happens, then there is no will he, won't he for months and months about Jaden O'Neal's status as an Oklahoma commit. So that is 100% accurate. That is the aspect of your text that is 100% accurate. But as a 405 listener also says, Denver, this is now a business, not the game we came to love over the past 30 years. And, man, I think the hire of Jim Nagy just kind of reinforces that. And do I necessarily love it? No, because part of the reason I love being involved in the recruiting space, Grayson, is because of the relational component. But Jim Nagy is a guy that comes from an NFL background. He's the general manager of OU football. And as he himself has articulated, he has a great deal of influence in which prospects Oklahoma recruits. But he's not the one that's primarily developing that relationship. He will interact with those guys on their official visits. He'll be present in the process, but he's largely dictating to members of the coaching staff who they need to push for. And so there's and I'm hesitant to call it impersonal because recruiting by nature is personal. But recruiting in the NIL era and recruiting in the general manager, the front office era of college football is certainly more impersonal than it has ever been before.
I would agree with that. And because of it, that just goes to underscore what kind of a business you're dealing with. Is because when more and more business gets involved, the less and less those personal ties really seem to mean. Everything is a business transaction. It's more of a transactional thing than a personal thing, is what we've come to.
And the one thing I think you can appreciate about the way that Jaden O'Neal walked away from Oklahoma, and I'll say this, the kid is all class and always has been. In all of my dealings with him, incredibly classy dude.
We had a texter that just pointed that out.
But the one thing that you respect the most, I think, when examining the statement that he put out on social media to announce his decommitment is he basically said, hey, look, I get it. College football is a business. It's a business for them. It's a business for me. And so that's a kid that gets it. He wishes he could still be committed to Oklahoma. Certainly. Again, you're not moving 1,200 miles to the state of Oklahoma to play your senior year of high school unless you are all the way in with OU. But when one party makes a business decision, it may spur a business decision on the part of the other party. And that's exactly what happened here. Denver from Indiana adds, I'm a huge O'Neal fan. Love that kid. Colin Claremore with an interesting point, because this is 100% true, and this is one of the very first things Brent Venables said when he showed up and took the OU job. Do people forget that the OU staff will straight up tell every current player or recruit, we will try to out-recruit you? That's all that happened with O'Neal. Back in December of 2021, that was one of the very first things that Brent Venables made clear about his philosophy at Oklahoma. He said he would make two promises to any student athlete that committed to play football at OU. One, we're going to coach you hard, love you harder. And two, the second you commit to us, we're going to start recruiting your replacement.
Mm-hmm.
And so you better be ready for the smoke. I think you can respect that. At times, that can be a very inconvenient reality to deal with in a practical sense. The O'Neal case is an excellent example of that. But this is just the brutal nature of recruiting in the NIL era, most specifically.
Santa John asks, Grayson, what's wrong with the new offensive coordinator preferring another quarterback over the previous offensive coordinator? Nothing. Nothing is wrong with that. We have said that for months. Nobody is begrudging Ben Arbuckle for preferring another guy over what Seth Luttrell preferred. There's nothing wrong with that. That is the circle of life when it comes to hiring new coordinators. Nobody in Oklahoma staff did anything wrong here. Nobody here did anything wrong here.
David from Norman says, Parker, another misconception that I've heard several times is that Oklahoma asked O'Neal and his family to move halfway across the country to Oklahoma. I doubt very seriously that any conversations like that ever took place. In my mind, that misconception has caused a lot of people to think that OU did O'Neal dirty. Yeah, and if that's a misconception, and I guess I saw a tweet to that effect from some rando USC burner earlier today. But, yeah, it's 100% not true. Oklahoma did not ask the O'Neals to move to the state of Oklahoma any more than they asked Kevin Sperry and his folks to move to the state of Oklahoma. It is kind of weird, isn't it, that this is now the second straight cycle in which you've had a quarterback commit, a longtime quarterback commit, move to the state of Oklahoma to finish out his high school career close to his future collegiate home, only to flip, and not only to flip,
to Florida
but to flip
State.
to Florida State in both cases. And I guess that's not official yet with Jaden O'Neal, but that's where the arrow is quite obviously pointing. Crazy stuff. Wonder what Kevin Sperry's thinking right now.
You still got a connection to him?
Oh, man. I have a few off-air stories with regard to that recruitment. Maybe one day they'll become on-air stories. Maybe one day when my give an F factor is lower. 405-651-3439 is the Knippelmeyer Chevrolet text line. I want to take you through the timeline of how we got here on the other side and discuss what else might be brewing for Oklahoma on this Champ U barbecue weekend, which has now arrived, and the official visitors are starting to trickle into town. Keep it right here on the Ref, the home of Sooner fans.
Considering refinancing your mortgage? Now might be the perfect time to start planning. With rates on the move, Stride Bank can help you determine if you may be able to lower your monthly payments, shorten your loan term, or tap into your home's equity. Stride's expert mortgage advisors will work with you to tailor a solution that fits your needs. With local roots and national reach, Stride Bank is your go-to partner for all your banking needs. Stride Bank, your trusted financial partner since 1913. Find out more at stridebank.com. Stride Bank, member FDIC, equal housing lender.
For over 20 years, Purple Wave Auction has been the trusted leader in online auctions, offering the easiest way to buy and sell equipment. From bulldozers to backhoes and combines to cranes, we host multiple weekly auctions in construction, ag, and fleet equipment. With our no reserve format and sell where it sits approach, you can bid on local equipment without waiting for far-off auction dates. Get registered for free and start bidding today at purplewave.com.
Beat the heat at Hey Pickle Pickle, Heyday Entertainment's brand new pickleball facility. With 5 indoor courts, Oklahoma summer won't be able to stop you from getting your game on. Learn more at heypicklefun.com, and remember, drink responsibly.
For the professional, it's not enough to just possess knowledge. That's why at GMC, we seek to refine it, to wield its power, to redefine its boundaries, while pushing the limits. And we put this knowledge to the test in every GMC Sierra, by engineering each one to outperform your expectations, so you know you're getting precision and durability when you need it most. And that's what makes the GMC Sierra the truck worth knowing. We are professional grade. See your Oklahoma GMC dealers.
At Meals on Wheels of Norman, we deliver more than just meals. We deliver connection, compassion, and care to homebound seniors right here in our community. But we need your help. Volunteer drivers are the heart of what we do, and just a little of your time can make a big impact. Join our team, make a difference. Visit MealsOnWheelsNorman.com or contact us at 405-321-7272 to sign up as a volunteer and start serving smiles today.
Life is full of big moments, and at OU Federal Credit Union, they are happy to help you make those moments happen. Thinking of buying a home? OUFCU offers mortgage loans with competitive rates and flexible terms. If you already own a home, their home equity loans can help you make those much-needed renovations or pay off high-interest debt. But it's not about the loans, it's about the people. Ready to make the next step toward your dreams? Visit OU Federal Credit Union today. Your home sweet loan is just around the corner. Member savings insured up to $250,000 by NCUA.
For over 80 years, Primrose Funeral Service has been providing comfort and guidance during difficult times. Pre-planning with Primrose can help make things a little easier for families. Not only can you pre-plan a funeral, but you can pre-plan your sunset cemetery arrangements, which removes the difficulty of planning for a loss at the same time loved ones are experiencing one. Contact Primrose Funeral Service at 405-321-6000 or visit them online at primrosefuneralservice.com.
Whether it's yesterday, today, or tomorrow, no one covers the Sooners like we do. From the voice of the Sooners on The Rush every day for the triple option.
We've landed on the triple option, and I'm excited.
To the Plank Show, taking over your morning drive from 6 to 9.
Every single radio person, what they want to do is they want to do a morning show.
And the addition of the SEC Network's Darinoka from 9 to noon.
While remembering that Oklahoma is top dog, I want to bring an SEC perspective.
The Ref Sports Radio Network.
Summer just got better with Heyday Entertainment. Join us for bowling, mini golf, laser tag, and so much more. And check out Hey Pickle Pickle, our brand new pickleball facility. Learn more at heydayfun.com. Heyday, where you choose your fun.
It is locked in here on the Ref, the home of Sooner fans. Parker Thune alongside Grayson Singleton. Talking what else? Jaden O'Neal and Bowe Bentley. Let's get to a couple texts here real quick. Glenn from Nashville says, I texted this several months ago when OU first started pursuing Bentley, that he is a distant cousin to my wife. I've never met the kid and might not ever meet the kid, but I know several of his uncles and aunts scattered throughout Texas. I've been in contact with a few of them, and they know nothing about where the kid is going to go. So he and his parents are keeping this very close to the vest. Yes, they are. Yes, they are. And that's been the case throughout the process. And what has the process looked like? Well, let me take you inside all of this. I posted this article at ouinsider.com this morning to just kind of outline it for people that haven't been following it cover to cover. And I won't read you the entire article, but let's hit some of the key timeline events, Grayson. April 8th, 2024 was when Jaden O'Neal took his first unofficial visit to Oklahoma, at which point Oklahoma pretty immediately emerged as a lead contender in the race. Fast forward to June 13th, 2024. He comes to Oklahoma for a camp, and it was over the course of that camp series that the Oklahoma staff made the decision that they were going to take Jaden O'Neal over Darion Coleman, who was a heavy OU lean as well. He wound up committing to Miami. Florida kid, had always dreamed of playing for OU, and it came down to him or Jaden O'Neal. For Seth Luttrell and the OU offensive staff at the time, they chose Jaden O'Neal. So June 24th, Jaden O'Neal goes public with his commitment. July 25th of 2024, he's back on campus to help recruit on behalf of Oklahoma at the Sooners Under the Stars recruiting event. October 12th, 2024, he's at the Red River Rivalry. O'Neal, that is. November 16th, 2024. Now, keep in mind what happened in the weeks prior. Seth Luttrell was dismissed back on October 20th, so it's been a few weeks now. November 16th, he takes an unofficial visit to Colorado. Chalks it up to due diligence based on the uncertainty with the future of the Oklahoma offensive staff, which is completely fair. But November 23rd, he's right back in Norman, watching Oklahoma lay the hammer on Alabama that night. January 10th, 2025 now. So the calendar has flipped. We're on to calendar year 2025. January 10th, Jaden O'Neal attends the U.S. Navy All-American Combine in San Antonio. And he told my colleague Sam Spiegelman, Rivals national recruiting analyst at the time, that he's still, and I quote, really locked in with Oklahoma. Spoke highly of Ben Arbuckle, but also added that, and I quote again, everything's not closed yet with his recruitment. Fast forward to January 24th. And that's the day that Bowe Bentley got the offer from OU. And things changed drastically thereafter. Now, that weekend, the weekend that followed, I believe that offer happened on a Thursday. That weekend, Jaden O'Neal was not only on campus with Oklahoma, he was on campus with Daniel Odom, 4-star wide receiver out of the state of California, who was uncommitted at the time. He wound up committing to OU, in no small part because of O'Neal's influence that he exerted on that process. So Daniel Odom commits on January 28th. Then on February 1st, Bowe Bentley comes to town for his first unofficial visit to OU. Jump ahead to March 6th. A development that had been in the works for months finally makes its way to the public eye. O'Neal reveals that he's going to be moving from California to Oklahoma and enrolling at Mustang. 2 days later, and by the way, he said of the move, it, quote, just kind of made sense, given his longstanding pledge to OU. March 8th, Bowe Bentley is back in Norman for another unofficial visit at the Future Freaks weekend. March 10th is where things really started to get hairy because Jaden O'Neal showed up at Georgia for an unofficial visit. And it was then and there that you really started to get the sense maybe Jaden O'Neal doesn't wind up signing with Oklahoma after all. March 22nd at the Elite 11 Regional in Austin, I myself spoke with O'Neal, and that is where he dropped the soundbite that you referenced where he said the communication just needs to be a little bit more between him and OU. He also disclosed at that time he was looking at official visits to Florida State, Auburn, and Arizona. March 30th is when Bowe Bentley named Oklahoma, LSU, and Georgia as his 3 finalists. April 3rd, O'Neal is at Florida State unofficially. April 5th, he's at Auburn unofficially. April 12th, he's back in Norman for the Crimson Combine. And then we get to May. On May 5th, Georgia took the commitment of 5-star quarterback Jared Curtis, which removed them from the Bentley sweepstakes. May 15th, OU went in-home with Bowe Bentley. Ben Arbuckle did the in-home visit. May 16th, I went down to Salina, and Bowe Bentley told me that, okay, Georgia's officially out of the picture, as you'd expect. I'm down to LSU and OU. I'm going to take my 2 official visits. I'm going to make a decision, and I quote, whenever I get that feeling. May 19th, 2 things happened. First, that was the day that Bentley shuffled his official visit schedule. Mm-hmm. It was supposed to be it was supposed to be Oklahoma and then LSU. It became LSU and then Oklahoma. So Oklahoma positions themselves to get the last word in the recruitment. That was also the day that OU went in-home with Jaden O'Neal. 4 staffers, including Ben Arbuckle and Emmett Jones, part of that conversation. May 30th, Jaden O'Neal OVs to Arizona. June 6th was the day that Bowe Bentley took his OV to Oklahoma, or began his OV with Oklahoma. OU got 4 silent commitments that weekend. They were hoping Bentley was going to lock in. He didn't. Chose to wait. And obviously that brings us to just recently, June 15th, was when Jaden O'Neal took his official visit to Florida State, and that was really when the buzz started to become more plentiful on the FSU end that they're close to pulling off the flip. And boom, last night the decommitment finally happens. So that's a lengthy timeline, but that lays out for you just how long all of this has been building. And also, Grayson, it harkens back to a juncture about a year ago at this time where it wasn't O'Neal or Bentley that was being talked about in the OU circles. It was O'Neal or Darion Coleman.
Which raises the question, and I know this is probably a futile one, but let's have some fun here. If Darion Coleman is the one that commits first, do you think Ben Arbuckle goes after Bowe Bentley if the guy he's inheriting is Darion Coleman? What would that fit have been like, do you think?
Knowing what Ben Arbuckle thinks of Bowe Bentley as a football player, yes, I do.
So you think we're doing this whole song and dance over?
No. And here's why. Because Darion Coleman would not have decommitted from Oklahoma. That is my belief. Because when it was being talked about last May, June, there were conversations ongoing between the Sooner staff and Darion Coleman and the Sooner staff and Jaden O'Neal about the quandary in the 26 class at quarterback. Darion Coleman's outlook was, you can take another quarterback if you want. I'll beat him out. That was kind of his mindset. That kid, I mean, he's from Florida, right?
Oh, I was gonna say, that's a very Florida thing.
It's a very Florida outlook. Jaden O'Neal was kind of like, hey, look, I'm a quarterback, right? If you're gonna take a quarterback, you should only take one quarterback. Like let's keep this thing exclusive. And so OU got to see both of them during camp season, decided, you know what? We like Jaden O'Neal better. We're going to roll with him as our guy. And he was the guy. But then Ben Arbuckle showed up, and the whole two-quarterback thing became a necessity, not because Ben Arbuckle just happened to share a different outlook than Seth Luttrell, but because the roster had quite objectively changed and evolved a lot at the quarterback position.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, there's only one quarterback on this roster right now that was around last June, and that's Michael Hawkins. Everybody else is new. Gavin Frakes, Whit Neubauer, Jet New, and, of course, John Mateer. Sooner Tile Guy wants to know, guys, are we now going to lose the wide receiver commit Odom due to O'Neal's decommitment? That's a really interesting situation because Jaden O'Neal is not OVing this weekend. His OV is off the books, quite understandably. Daniel Odom is coming to town for his OV. So as it stands, yes, there's a very real chance Oklahoma actually retains Daniel Odom's commitment, which is wild to me because my feeling back in February, March was that, man, I don't know if that Daniel Odom commitment lasts regardless of what happens with Jaden O'Neal. Well, it turns out it's exactly the opposite. Jaden O'Neal is out of the picture, but Daniel Odom may not be. Slim Brady says, oh, so O'Neal visited Colorado before OU offered Bentley. Yes, he did. It was an unofficial visit, didn't amount to much. But, yeah, he visited Colorado while Oklahoma was kind of wandering the wilderness looking for their next offensive coordinator, who turned out to be Ben Arbuckle.
Bishop Frank has sent us a super chat.
Oh,
on
come
YouTube.
on, Bishop Frank. What's he got?
He says, thank you, O'Neal Fire. Test commitment. Blessings. There's a very ministry way to word a comment.
Love it, Bishop. Thanks for the super chat. We appreciate it. A verified source says, you can answer this or don't have to. Would it be fair to say O'Neal likely wouldn't have received an offer from OU had Nagy or Arbuckle been here? Just doesn't seem like a fit. I don't know. Because what I've learned, I think what we've all learned about the way Jim Nagy is recruiting is, or I should say the way Jim Nagy is evaluating, is it's really not bound by geography at all.
Nope.
Oklahoma is going to places they have not traditionally gone to offer and recruit players. And so whereas in the past, if you're looking for a quarterback, you're probably going to start with local guys or semi-local guys. I think if Jim Nagy walks in those doors and nobody is committed at the quarterback position in the 26 cycle, he's doing very thorough evaluations on like 150 different quarterbacks from across the country before they settle on a guy, the guy they're going to turn up the heat on. So, shoot, man, the Bentley offer preceded Nagy. I don't know if Bentley would have been Nagy's guy. And I'm not saying he wouldn't have. I'm just saying I genuinely don't know. I don't think you could. It's been very unpredictable, the way that Oklahoma has gone out and recruited under Nagy's direction because, like I said, he's demonstrated that he just doesn't really care for geography, which I like, but it's different. It's different than it has been. No longer, it seems, will Oklahoma be relying on certain hotbeds the way that they have for years and years, and in some cases, decades.
No, they're just going to go out and find dudes.
Yeah, find the dudes. Sooner Ozzy asks, does OU have a backup plan if he chooses LSU? Would O'Neal come then? Jaden O'Neal's out of the picture at this point. Like, that's just I see no feasible path for a reconciliation. Now, as far as OU's backup plan, if Bentley chooses LSU, first off, I think the odds that he chooses LSU right now are very low and steadily growing lower. If he winds up in Norman this weekend, I think that tells you quite literally everything you need to know about where this thing is headed. But if he does go to LSU, I don't have a clue what OU is going to do at this point. I've heard some names. I mentioned one name earlier this week, Jaden O'Neal, the kid from Utah that Oklahoma may take a look at if Bentley goes to LSU, but there's a decent chance they just pack it in and look in the portal in the winter.
And then also you make sure that you land Peyton Houston in the 2027 class.
And then that becomes a gotta-have-it recruitment.
Oh, yes.
It already feels like a little bit of a gotta-have-it recruitment just with kind of the baked-in advantages that already exist for Oklahoma in the race for Houston. But if you didn't land Bowe Bentley, even intensifies
It'd be pretty weird. It'd be pretty weird if they didn't get him.
Michael and Marlowe asks, guys, I've been asking the same question for 3 days. Sorry we haven't gotten to it, Michael. Is there any real want for a second quarterback in the class? At this point, I don't know that I can answer that question conclusively. We will see what happens if and when Bowe Bentley is on board. What I will say is that I think the quarterback calculus, and I've said this before, said this months ago when it happened, I think the quarterback calculus changed a little bit when Oklahoma got Whit Neubauer out of the portal. Because that's a guy with 3 years of eligibility at his disposal. So he provides depth to the room, long-term depth, ideally, that you wouldn't have had if you just gone and grabbed a one-year rental, just a guy looking for a home to ride the bench his last year of college. Whit Neubauer is a guy that's put some good tape together, has starting experience at the FCS level, and could turn into something if he chooses to stick around at OU. And that's the asterisk that you have to put next to pretty much any quarterback that's not in a starting role these days if they choose to stick around. So I will be very interested to see how Ben Arbuckle plays his hand the rest of the way, but it's all predicated first and foremost upon what happens with Bentley. That's trending well for Oklahoma. Will it hold? I think it will at this rate. We'll see. Zero Star Joe wants to know, how did Bentley finish up at the Elite 11? Well, he was among the Elite 11. He was a finalist. He did not win MVP. That went to, cover your ears, Texas commit Diabell. So, and Diabell is a really impressive prospect. Like, that's he might be a problem for OU here in a few years.
Might.
He's really good.
I think I think Texas has back-to-back quarterbacks who are going to be a real pain in the you-know-what.
Yeah, he's really good. Really good. Okay, we got to hit a quick timeout. 405-651-3439. Man, we are quickly running out of runway to hit all of the topics that we need to hit here today on Locked In. The Champ-U Barbecue is upon us. Let's examine what's on tap for Oklahoma this weekend when we return. You're listening to The Ref, the home of Sooner fans.
This is Deion Burks, and you're listening to The Ref, the home of Sooner fans.
The Athletes Unlimited Softball League is coming to Norman June 20th through the 23rd at Love's Field. Watch these legendary AUSL pro softball players on the Volts and Talons compete, including Sis Bates, Montana Fouts, and Oklahoma's own Tiare Jennings and Sydney Romero. To learn more about the Bandits, Talons, Blaze, and Volts, go to theausl.com and get your tickets today. AUSL, this is legendary.
Visit Confidence Ford of Norman and receive employee pricing on our Ford lineup. But that's not all. We'll also give you a complimentary spray-in bed liner and window tint on all remaining new 2024 Super Duty trucks in stock, or save up to $10,000 on all remaining new 2024 Broncos. Drive the Ford you've always wanted from a team that puts you first. Visit us today, conveniently located at 825 North Interstate Drive. Confidence Ford of Norman, part of the Cavender Auto family, where confidence is Cavender.
More than 600,000 Oklahomans have disabilities. We can't afford to leave great employees behind just because they do things differently.
Who we are and what we accomplish
are much more important.
Hire an Oklahoman with a disability and gain dependability, commitment, and lower turnover. Reach out. Oklahoma Rehabilitation Services, okdrs.gov. 1-800-845-8476.
Victory Family Church. It's more than just a church, it's truly a family. And as it continues to grow, you can now celebrate with 6 opportunities every Sunday morning, starting as early as 8:30 a.m., with our final service starting at 1. Learn more about service times and everything going on with Pastor Adam and the church at victoryfamily.church. That's victoryfamily.church. Check out our campuses in Newcastle, Chickasha, and Shawnee. Victory Family Church, online at victoryfamily.church.
Hey Sooner fans, it's almost football season, and there's no better time to gear up than right now at Balfour of Norman, your locally owned headquarters for all things Sooner. Whether you're searching for your new lucky game day polo, tee, or hat, we've got you covered from top brands like Nike, Jordan, and Tommy Bahama. Looking to take your tailgate or watch party up a notch? Check out our great selection of OU glassware, flags, and serving pieces. Come support local, stock up on Sooner style, and get ready to yell Boomer Sooner, only at Balfour of Norman, where Sooner spirit lives year-round.
The Cornhole Tournament is back at Buffalo Wild Wings. Come out to the Bixby Buffalo Wild Wings on Saturday, July 12th. Registration begins at 11 a.m. with the tournament starting at noon. You can enjoy $2, $3, or $4 drink specials during the event, plus great prizes for first, second, and third place, along with many other great prizes, including a grand prize of Ultra Cornhole boards. Join Buffalo Wild Wings in Bixby July 12th starting at noon for the 2025 Summer Cornhole Tournament.
Wild Wings. Wings, beer, sports.
Are you, your family, or company looking for a locally owned and trusted management group? Carlsbad Management Group is an owner, developer, and manager of high-quality apartment communities in Oklahoma. They are a locally owned and operated management company for apartments and self-storage units. They are committed to providing exceptional apartment homes, customer service, and increasing the value of multi-family communities under our management. If you would like a free management quote today, call Carlsbad Management at 405-701-1411 and be part of the Carlsbad family.
Would you like to play a more active role in your health? At Hightower Clinical, we believe all Oklahomans should have access to new potential treatment options through clinical trial participation. Our team wants to support you with the best care possible through clinical trials. No health insurance is required. Compensation is available for eligible study participants, and study care is provided at no cost.
Having the chance to go through a trial and find out if something works for them and makes their life easier, I would recommend them do it.
To learn more, scan this QR code and visit our website.
I just had a hilarious recollection, Grayson. Hilarious.
Okay.
You know where Jaden O'Neal spent his freshman year of high school? I'd forgotten this.
Is it somewhere in Texas?
No.
Okay.
Los Alamitos, out there in California, where he backed up whom?
Los Alamitos. Would it have been Nico?
No.
Because isn't he from out there?
Close. Malachi Nelson.
Oh, my goodness. I knew it was somebody who had West Coast college connections now.
Malachi Nelson. 405-651-3439 is the Knippelmeyer Chevrolet text line for those of you that want to fire in some questions before we call it an afternoon here on Locked In. I've got 3 more hours of radio to go once we're done. Travis Davidson and I are going to bring you the B-Team Rush. Both Tyler and Ted are out today, so Trav and I are going to do our best to hold it down. Grill Boy and Thune.
Grill Boy and Thune. Yeah, we need an open for that.
LG Sooner says, I might have missed it, but is Bentley supposed to be here for Champ U Barbecue this weekend? Is he supposed to be here? No.
No.
Might he be here anyway? Yeah.
So what? Okay, so take us behind the scenes. What happens if you're not slated to be there for the visit, but you still pop up anyway?
I mean, you can visit anywhere, anytime, unofficially, right? Like that's what.
So basically, this is just another.
That's
unofficial
what it would
visit.
be for
Okay,
Bentley.
gotcha.
It would be an unofficial. You can only take one official visit per school unless there's a change of staff. At which point you can take 2 OVs to the same school, which happened for several Oklahoma target/signees in the 22 class. Because, for instance, Kobe McKenzie had taken an OV with Lincoln Riley's staff. I believe Gentry Williams had too. And then Brent Venables and his staff got to town, they had to re-recruit all those guys. And so they got the very unique experience of taking 2 OVs to the same place. A 405 listener says, Ted out on a Friday? What? No way. I know. Imagine that. As one listener pointed out during the rush, though, yesterday, he has worked 4 days for 3 consecutive weeks. Very impressive work by the Butkus Award winner. Okay, Grayson, so let's dig into this visitor list a little bit.
Wait, hold on.
What's up?
Before we do, a
Okay.
texter in the 918. Grayson sounds like a freaking Texas homer. Instead of his freaking posts, get off Bevo. Number 1, I am not on Bevo. That is weird. Number 2, I just talk football. I'm not a Texas homer. I do think they have good quarterbacks, though.
Here's one other text I want to get to before we explore some of the notable names on this official visit
He
list.
also said joke.
This 405 listener says, in what world does 24/7 Sports have Oklahoma State currently ranked 49th in recruiting for the 26th class and OU ranked 53rd? I don't pay $5,000 a year for season tickets for this. We do this every year. We do this every year.
This is my favorite recruiting conversation.
This happens every year right about this time. Oklahoma is not very high in the recruiting rankings, and people start losing their minds over it. People start freaking out, which, hey, I get it. You know, especially if you don't follow recruiting on a day-in, day-out basis, if you're not a diehard recruiting fanatic, and you check in and you say, wow, Oklahoma's got the 53rd ranked class in the 26th cycle. Yeah, okay, I can get why it would be jarring. Guess what? It's June. Recruiting rankings do not matter a whole heck of a lot in the month of June. If you look at the top 10 in the team recruiting rankings for the 26th cycle, you know who you will see in the top 10 as of right now? Yes, you will see USC, you will see Michigan, you will see Ohio State, you will see some of the usual suspects. You will also see Illinois and UCLA.
Yeah, that probably won't stick.
No, it will not. And here's the thing. This freak out always comes, and it's not just this texture, because I've seen this take several times this week on various platforms. This freak out always comes right before the avalanche hits. And the avalanche is coming soon for Oklahoma. Think about it. Part of the reason Oklahoma's 53rd right now is because they just lost their quarterback commit, whom it would appear they are about to replace in the class. And if the rankings are what you care about, Bowe Bentley is higher ranked than Jaden O'Neal.
Correct.
By a pretty wide margin.
Mm-hmm.
So, as far as rankings are concerned, you're upgrading in that department. Also, consider the commitment dates of which we know over the next week. We don't know when Bowe Bentley is going to announce. We don't know when he's going to decide. Here's what we do know that's happening over the course of the next 7 days. 7 days. In the next 7 days, there is a very real chance that Oklahoma lands multiple prospects from the following list. 4-star cornerback Danny Odom, who commits on the 23rd. 4-star wideout Dallas Dickerson, who commits on the 24th. 4-star interior offensive lineman Desmond Green and 4-star wide receiver Craig Dandridge, who both commit on the 26th. And then 4-star offensive lineman Deacon Schmidt, who commits on the 28th. That is within the next week, folks. 5 blue-chip prospects for whom Oklahoma is no worse than second down the board right there. 5 of them deciding in the next week. And there will be commitments on the other side of the Champion Barbecue weekend. I can't necessarily tell you whom or on what timetable, but let's look through some of these names because I wanted to get here anyway. Let's look through some of these guys that are going to be showing up on campus with whom Oklahoma's got more than a shot. Bo Jandro, I don't know if you're Sharpieing that one just yet, but you're certainly penciling him into the class. His twin brother's already committed to OU. Mm-hmm. That's a layup. Braden Presley? We'll see what happens there. I know he's a big-time priority for OU because they love his versatility in the back end. As long as you can beat Oklahoma State, that's really the only competition at this point. I mean, he's got Kansas State, he's got Arkansas, but it's an OU-Oklahoma State battle. Devin Robeson, 3-star U? Yeah, he's a 3-star. Interior offensive lineman from Pasadena, Texas. Absolute mauler.
So he's also pretty good.
And he's, again, an interior offensive lineman. The majority of whom peak in the high 3-star range because of the value of the position that they play, which, comparatively speaking, is not terribly high. 4-star wide receiver Zachary Turner from Duncanville. Duncanville, mind you, OU hasn't tapped into Duncanville since the 21 class with Savion Byrd. Emmett Jones is very much on the verge of doing that. 4-star defensive back Jacob Eberhardt from Kirkwood, Missouri. Stud of a prospect. A plus-size safety, much akin to Michael Boganowski. Some schools like him as a linebacker. Oklahoma sees him as an elite safety prospect. Sooners battling Nebraska and Missouri for him. DeAnthony Lafayette, he of the 16.5 sacks down at Lake Nona High School in Orlando, Florida as a high school junior this past fall. He's coming to town. Oklahoma's got a mighty good shot with him. Taj Overton, 4-star defensive tackle from Owasso, Oklahoma. That feels like a layup too, Grayson.
That seems like one you've got to get done.
And then the crown jewel of the weekend on the defensive side of the ball, and the guy that if Oklahoma lands him would be the crown jewel of their defensive class, maybe their entire class.
Jake Krell.
Jake Krell from IMG Academy. The number 2 defensive end in the nation.
Now, let me ask you this. Luke Wafel committed to USC over Ohio State. Does that keep Ohio State still square in this picture for Jake Krell?
What's interesting is, so USC and Ohio State got in that highly public bidding war for Luke Wafel.
Yes.
There was a lot of very transparent reporting about the numbers in that recruitment, which I found interesting. But USC, I guess, is going to pay somewhere in the neighborhood of $2.5 million for Luke Wafel. One of the consequences of that bidding war, I'm not sure if we mentioned this on air yesterday, I know we talked about it off air, is that Kevin Ford Jr. was supposed to be at USC this weekend. He is now going to where? Ohio State.
He is going to Ohio State, yes.
So the Kevin Ford Jr. recruitment is going to be an eye roller. And I'm just trying to prepare all of you for that now.
Which, by the way, if y'all have never heard Parker, which you probably haven't, heard Parker talk about the Kevin Ford recruitment, it is the funniest thing ever.
OU's in a very good spot with Jake Krell. A very good spot. They lead, and they have led there for a long time. Barring a late surge from Florida, Florida is kind of the one school that I am concerned about at this time. But I'll tell you this, and I'm not making you any guarantees. I'm not making you any promises. There are several sources from within the Switzer Center that have expressed belief Jake Krell not only commits to Oklahoma, but does it this weekend. So they're feeling pretty good going into this visit. Krabby Sooner wants to know, is this Overton related to that other Overton who stiffed us? No relation whatsoever to LT Overton.
Oh, no.
Texas A&M over OU. John and Blanchard said, don't forget the kicker, Parker. That's right. Oklahoma should get a commitment from Trace Rudd, the outstanding kicker from Blue Valley Northwest High School up in Overland Park, Kansas. So if special teams is your thing, there you go. Chris from Knoxville says, OMG, Cal is ranked 14th and Kansas is at 20th. OU sucks. Sarcasm. 5-star Gunny, Stutzman Army adds, OU might not be high, but I sure am right now.
Oh, we know.
I'd expect nothing less. Gunny. Gator says, is General Booty still in the portal? Is he coming to the Champ U barbecue? I don't know what General Booty's up to these days. I don't think he's signed anywhere to play football this fall. He might have seen his football career run its course, but
I still don't understand how his parents, with the knowledge of what his last name is going to be, thought, ooh, that would be a good idea.
It was a different time, man. It was a different time. When was he born? Like 2003?
Yeah, that's around the same time I was. That was around the same time I was born.
Yeah, come on. Internet culture then wasn't what it is now.
But bullying was.
Fair. Fair point. He rocks it, though.
He does.
He rocks
Got to
it.
give him credit for that.
Okay, well, we're done here on Locked In. Done for the day, done for the week. Boy, will we have a lot to talk about on Monday. And we will talk again then. Same time, same place on these here airwaves. And who knows? By that point, we may very well have a brand new commitment. And a very, very substantial one for Oklahoma at the most important position on the football field. For Grayson Singleton, I'm Parker Thune. Let's see what happens on this Champ U barbecue weekend, folks. The Rush is next. It's me and Travis Davidson for the next 3 hours, so don't go anywhere. You're listening to The Ref, the home of Sooner fans.